What is doing, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of My Team Career Mode. We are here for the Italian Grand Prix episode number 12, I believe. If you haven't seen the last video at Zandvoort, the link will always be in the description below. Pretty good race though, or an intriguing end to that race with a late race Satchko throwing things around a little bit, but we came home for P13. So going into Monza, as you can probably tell from the title, things didn't quite go as planned, and you're about to find out why. Unbelievable. The two best upgrades possible, the DRS, which is so vital around Monza, and because it is a slipstream track, and the engine power. Those two upgrades could have given us something to work with going into the race and get us above Haas, definitely. So that is gut wrenching. That is so gut wrenching. Well as going away from all of the gut wrenching, we now have to decide whether we want to have Christian in our team or whether we go for another driver. So if you look at Christian's results, 14th, 17th, 14th, 19th, 18th, the engine failure in France, 18th, 17th, 21st, 20th, and 18th in his form, just hasn't been able to find what I've been able to find. So we approach Christian now, and wow, so he's declined our approach. So vehicle performance is 11th. He is demanding 10th or better. Interesting. So we move on to Robert Schwartzman. I highly rate Robert Schwartzman. Is he the reigning F2 champion? I think he is, but we approach it and he accepts the approach. He's demanding team acclaim level 2, and we have team acclaim level 1. I actually have high hopes for Christian that he can, he's able to run for us. So I think we're going to go for a medium risk, just to see if he's capable. I reckon he's capable, and he's declined. That is interesting. So now I'm sort of scratching my head now whether we can even sign a driver. So we advance time to the next day, and we're actually gonna try again at Robert Schwartzman and see what happens, because I reckon we can probably sign him. So we send the demands again, and this time it works out. So we get Robert Schwartzman for the rest of the season, and hopefully he can give us a good result. So we had the recreation training, which will have given him a boost in awareness. I don't think that was necessary, but we didn't even have the time to do that. So we did the driver, whatever it was, a driver advertisement, I think it was. So into Monza now, just doing what I usually do, getting through all the practice programs. We got that done, all nice and sweet. Got the maximum amount of resource points, so now we'll be able to rectify the engine power, the DRS, and what was the other one? Energy store upgrades, and that was the part that failed at Belgium. So now that we have level 1 of durability upgrades, I think we should be okay for the rest of the season, hopefully. So now we're going to rectify the DRS upgrade, which should go on in time for Russia. It'll be on the car for Russia because it's 0% failure chance. If a part fails, then it has 0% chance of failing again, which is nice to know. So let's go to qualifying. Here we go then for the Italian Grand Prix qualifying. When you're doing qualifying around here, I'd highly suggest doing both laps behind another car. Wow, that's a nice moment at the exit of Ascari. But really, what you really want to do is do both laps in behind another car in qualifying. But however, I wanted to do a couple of runs in clear air because I feel like I do one of my best laps in clear air, and I feel like my second runs aren't quite as good in dirty air, so that's why I like to do 2 runs in nice clean air. Into Ascari for the second run, we lose a little bit going through that, but we gain a lot of it at the exit, which is where we made that little mistake. Apparently Ascari is probably it is a pretty deadly track corner. Speak English, mate. To get wrong because the curbs are so deadly. We come across the line. It is a 1.6 second improvement. It's a 21 flat. It puts us in P19. So that is not enough to get out of Q1. However, I did have a few liters or laps of fuel, so we're going to take all of the fuel out, and we are going to make a setup change. I actually did make a setup change. I was running 5.3 wings. Now I'm running 4.6 because I just feel like the rear isn't quite stable. Even on a low downforce track like Monza, I just don't feel that, the car is that stable. So we're behind Charles Leclerc for our last run, who just went fastest. So we're going to see if we can stay with him for the rest of the lap. I didn't think the exit out of the first chicane was that bad. I thought the run wasn't that bad, but into the second chicane, it was okay. Through Lesmo 1, missed the apex there a little. Lesmo 2, missed the apex there a little bit. And now we're 3.5 tenths down, heading into Ascari. Not a good run, ran very wide. Now we're 6 tenths down. So that was a lap that did not go to plan, and we are dead last in Q2. So we're going into the pits now because there is absolutely no reason for us to complete the lap because we didn't even improve, and we are in P22 for the Italian Grand Prix. Robert Schwartzman in P20, only a few tenths ahead of us, so not too bad there, buddy. Well, the rivalry against Fernando is virtually non-existent. Yeah. So, going into the race, it is actually going to be a very, very heavy wet weather race. So, this shall be fun. Wish me luck, and hopefully we can come out on the other side.
It's time for the Italian Grand Prix once again, here at the beloved and iconic Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. With the lowest downforce and drag of any circuit in the season, expect to see drivers making the most of the slipstream effect here today. And as always, a man with plenty of racing experience joins me in the commentary box. Today it's Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, you're no stranger to surviving the melee of turn 1, so how do you keep out of trouble when there's so much going on around you?
Well, the throttle goes both ways, Crofty. You've got to have the discipline not to try and win the race on the first lap, so always be prepared to lift early and give those around you more space. Trying to be the last of the late breakers with half a dozen cars around you may pay off from time to time, but it's also a great way to lose your front wing.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Verstappen, Sergio Perez and Leclerc, Gasly, Tsunoda, Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo, Stroll, Raikkonen, George Russell and Latifi, Sainz, Mick Schumacher, Antonio Giovinazzi and Fernando Alonso, Skip, Schwartzman. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Mazepin and Esteban Ocon rounds off the grid.
Okay, so getting promoted up a couple of spots before the race. Of course, we're getting towards the pointy end of the season and grid penalties are going to take effect. So, nice full wet weather race is upon us. Did make a change to the setup, however, we are going to take quite a bit of fuel out of the car because if you guys go back to Monaco, we had, 5 spare laps of fuel, so that's something I don't want to have. 5 red lights and we are go in Monza. Not going to be easy getting off the line. We have to be so careful with the wheel spin, and and Robert is alongside us, and he potentially get in front of us into turn 1. We dive bomb everyone, well, sort of, but I think we might have taken out Robert in the process. We get a collision warning with him, so that means we must have made contact with him. A little bit sideways out of the first chicane, and we are in P15, so up 4 spots after the first chicane. We're a little bit wide, in fact very wide, of the inside apex. Don't know why we did that. We brake as late as we can, trying to close up the gap to the cars in front. Doesn't look like that has worked out. We went very deep, but we just lost all that time. Carlos Sainz is looking up our inside at Lesmo 1. We go a little bit wide, we're a little bit sideways, and Sainz has hit the wall, and he is out of the race already. Collision warning there with Sainz, and the VSC is out. Wow, and yeah, there you go, Sainz is out of the race. Let's grab a couple of replays, because there was a fair bit going on there. So this is on board with Sainz into Lesmo 1. Probably could have stayed there, because I left him the space, and he just came up into the side of me. He didn't even back out. So I was a little bit wide, because I was trying to leave him the space. So now let's just go back to the start and see what happens here. We were sort of coasting into turn 1, and then we dive left, and yeah, there goes Robert. So that's where the collision warning came. So I have no doubt that we made contact, and he reverses a little. Why would you reverse when you're about to come onto the racetrack on board with Robert, and then we come flying in, and we accidentally push him off into the grass? And I don't understand why we even reverse out of there. Just try and... Was Mazepin hung up on the curb there? I heard a lot of revs. Yes, he has. He's hung up on the curb, and he finally gets away. Well, that's something you don't see every day. Anyway, VSC has ended. We are now back under green flag racing. So let's see what happens here at turn 1. We are a long way behind Kimi Räikkönen. I say a long way, it's only 2 seconds, but it feels like a long way. I tell you what, we are a long way behind is behind the Alfa Romeo is in the performance index. We are nowhere near the Alfa Romeo, so we are going to really need a strong finish if we're going to have any chance of moving forward going into season 2, and that's something that I want to focus on. And nice little sideways moment, because when we get to the end of this season, we've got the rate changes still to come, and as Giovinazzi has a big moment, and he's out of the race as well. Antonio Giovinazzi has had a big moment. He's crashed. He's out of the race. Safety car is out. A big crash there from Antonio Giovinazzi, and my teammate is out of the race. My teammate is out of the race as well. So this is him right here. There's Giovinazzi. Oh man, he has ran into the back of Antonio Giovinazzi. That is a big crash there. So there's Giovinazzi, who, what did he just park it on the apex? Or he crashed and then he moved over to one side, on board with my teammate, and he just moved over into him. Robert, you have the whole right hand side of the track, and you just crash into him. Nice one. Anyway, we move forward now. Don't want to talk about that too much. Safety car is in on lap 4. Nice quick safety car, because the field was already compressed up enough, and we didn't quite get the run on Kimi Räikkönen like I would have hoped for. But we're going to see what we can do heading down into turns 1 and 2. Räikkönen dive bombs everyone. He gets up to Tsunoda in P9, and here might take that as we try to go around the outside of Daniel Ricciardo. We get a little bit of a touch with him, and it doesn't quite work out. So we're in P12. Räikkönen is the beneficiary. He gained 2 or 3 more spots than me, which is nice to know. Heading into the second chicane, tried to close the gap as much as we can to Ricciardo, but I don't want to go too deep. If we go too deep, then our exit out of the chicane won't be as good compared to Stroll and Russell behind us. Speaking of Stroll, he has a look at us up the inside, but he doesn't quite make that work. That is lovely. So we move forward now, just trying to just stay with these guys as much as we can. However, I did make another wing change setup. I was running 3/8 wings. Apparently that's a wet weather setup. So and it doesn't really look quite as good. We're a little bit sideways of Lesmo 1. Stroll is up our inside, but we brake as late as we dare and keep Stroll behind, and now George Russell has got past. So that is lovely, and already he is that much.
These conditions don't look like they're shifting. We're predicting at least 20 minutes of heavy rainfall.
Well, after those big crashes in heavy rain, I would have almost suspected a red flag, because 2 big crashes and heavy rain, you'd almost say that's a red flag worthy. This is Fernando Alonso making it 3 wide into Parabolica against both Williams, and he gets them both. So Fernando, who I think had a moment on lap 1, whatever it was, he lost a hell of a lot of positions, and now he's clawing his way back up towards us. In fact, we're side by side going into Parabolica on lap 9. We tried to squeeze him onto the grass, but he gives us a little tap saying, "G'day mate, how you going?" And we have the inside for Parabolica. I was actually surprised there wasn't enough grip on the outside, because almost on the outside is where you want to be if you go back to the Supercars event at Sydney Motorsport Park. That's another motorsport series that I love, if you guys didn't know that. However, going back to this battle with Fernando, lap 10 now, and we are very, very deep into the second chicane. We get a horrible run, and well, we get even more horrible run by spinning up our tyres, and now Fernando gets past. So now lap 10, as I said, we're going to try and stay with Fernando as we can. In fact, we've given him a little tap, and we are in the gravel, and we are just going to survive not getting taken out. So that was very, very frustrating, to say at the very least. So we got back past Mick, but on lap 12, we lose the back end again. Even with more rear downforce with our wing setup, we still have no control of the car. Amazing. So now we're stuck behind one Haas car, and now we are approaching the halfway point of the race, and I think our pit window will be open this lap as soon as we come across the line. Oh no, maybe lap 14, but we are halfway through the race now, and well, at this point I was literally frustrated what was happening, because I made a couple of mistakes, even the mistake here at turn 1 just a lap ago, and you see the wheel spin, and now I am really frustrated with that spin now, because everything's just not gone our way this weekend, and too much wheel spin, and we have just binned the car. Well, a weekend that didn't start off well with those 2 upgrades failing has just gone from bad to worse. This is literally our worst weekend ever, as the title suggests. We are not going to instant replay that or flashback that. We are just going to score 0 points. We're probably going to score 0 points anyway.
So Mercedes have won it, and what a great race it was. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
Well, keeping their tyre temperatures up in the tricky wet conditions was really important. There's not much grip out there at the best of times, and it's 10 times worse if you're out there on cold tyres. So the way they kept the rubber in its proper operating window was a huge advantage today.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners today.
Wow, Hamilton on top for the first time since Azerbaijan in round 4. That just shows you how dominant Verstappen and Red Bull have been all season. But it is still going to take quite a beating for Lewis if he's going to have any chance of catching Max Verstappen before the end of the year. For us, literally a weekend to forget. There is literally not much more that needs to be said. I mean, it's not even funny anymore to have the DRS fail and the engine power. The engine power we probably could have done, as it was a weather race, so that we could have usually literally just use no DRS whatsoever. But it's something that we're going to have to rectify via the facilities, because we can't do anything if we can't upgrade the facilities and continually do more upgrades at a time, but also to rectify the failure chance of upgrades failing, because I think at the moment we're at 30% failure chance on every department, or maybe 2 or 3 of them, but it's just not enough. Anyway guys, thanks for watching. I'm out of here.